What's up, everybody? Eric here from the Unlockables podcast, the story of video games, the people who play them, and the memories played along the way. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. Wherever, whenever, in time and space you may be located, it means so much to me that you are here, checking out the show, checking out what is going on in the world of video games. This episode and the next couple that follow it are going to be a little bit different. I have reached the year end of 2025. The last episode of the last season of content I put out was for Fire Emblem 7 for the Game Boy Advance. I don't have any more episodes in the chamber that are ready. Like that episode, they are not my kind of deep dive into the games that I play. Fire Emblem was the last game I kind of had on the docket, and my busy life schedule going into the holidays has caught up with me. So there were a couple of things that I wanted to talk about before the year ended, and I'm going to do these in a kind of unscripted, rambling format. Usually when I record my episodes, I have notes and little tidbits of things that I write down that I want to say. I have outlines of the flow of my episode. I feel like that helps me produce a more listenable product, if that's even proper English. I haven't had time to sit down and organize my thoughts like that. And I'm also not going to be doing like a traditional end of year, game of the year kind of wrap up that I've done for the last several years and that everyone seems to do. Whenever a year comes to a close, I have some specific topics that I wanted to hit, that I had thoughts about, that I just didn't have time to build full episodes around. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is one of those topics. And today, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about something I've been thinking about a lot more lately, and I'm sure a lot of you have spent a lot more time thinking about it as well, as it begins to permeate our spaces and become an undeniable fact of life. And of course, I want to talk about the rise of AI, generative AI, artificial intelligence, and basically everything that goes along with that. Now, before I start my ramblings off, I'm going to try and go in order of the outline that I have kind of built out in my mind, if my brain will allow me to remember all of those points. I just wanted to make a couple things clear so that you don't take anything that I'm about to say in this episode the wrong way. So first of all, I want to clarify my stance on how I feel about AI in general, generative AI, and all of the stuff that goes along with that. I am unequivocally opposed in every manner and facet to the rate at which AI has been implemented into our lives. I am opposed to the way it has been used to generate art that is, in my mind, a mockery of the art that was made by real and true artists, upon which these models have been trained by scraping the internet, taking all these posts that all these incredible artists have made, sharing their work, and basically used it to teach all these AI models how to produce an image that is a lifeless, soulless facsimile of something that was made by a person who put hard time, hours of work, passion, soul, emotion into that project. I am opposed to all of that. I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate the way that it is being pushed as this thing that can replace menial tasks, in quotes, menial tasks. It can replace people's jobs. It's going to put people out of jobs. It's going to save all these corporations a tons of money. I hate all that. I think it's all terrible, and I am opposed to it. There is literally no instance in my mind where I can think that I would support AI in any of its current objectives the way it's being deployed in our lives right now. Being a marketing person, my job is one of the jobs that AI could very well potentially replace in the future if the kind of trajectory continues in the way that it has been. So I am opposed to AI in all of its forms as it currently stands. I hate everything about it. I hate the generative art side and video side of it. I hate that all these data centers are trying to go up and are basically gobbling up all the electricity, ruining all the water in whatever neighborhoods they go up in, raising our electric bills. I have like 3 or 4 data centers that are trying to go up within like 50 miles of where I live, haven't even gone up yet, and they've already raised our utility bills for electricity and water. So there's a real consequence on the average everyday American, other than just AI stealing jobs, other than just AI stealing art. It's having an effect on people who maybe don't even use it. If you live in a house where you don't use something like a ChatGPT or use any of the generative AI models, you are still feeling the effects because they are passing the cost of these gigantic data centers that they need to run all these AI models. They're passing it along to you in the form of electricity bills and utility bills. And that, I think, is just really unfair. But that's besides the point. I just wanted to lay out my initial stance on AI. And I wanted to have a disclaimer too. I'm going to use a lot of generalizations when talking in this episode about some things that I'm going to talk about. I will say things like you and us and our. I'm using these collective words to refer to like the general public, the general populace, a very vague, like amorphous group of people. It's not targeting you specifically, so I don't want you to take it that way. I'm going to bring this back around to video games because it was because of video games that I started thinking about this topic, this ramble that you're about to listen to in my head. And it all started around the time that we got the nominees for the Jeff Keighley annual Game Awards. And one of the big kind of controversies, quote unquote, takes that were going around at that time was the inclusion of a game for Game of the Year known as Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is an extraction shooter in this vein of Escape from Tarkov, according to my understanding of how it plays. It seems to have much more casual elements, and maybe it's not as hardcore as Escape from Tarkov is. I don't really have experience with Tarkov or Arc Raiders, so I can't really speak on it too much, but that is my baseline understanding of kind of how that game plays according to the communities that I'm a part of, the things I've seen on social media, things that have been served to me in the algorithm. And I have kind of kept an eye on it just because being a person in the video game space, I like to know what's going on in the space of the thing that I love. So there was a controversy around Arc Raiders not being nominated for Game of the Year, and that doesn't have to do with just AI. That has to do with other factors as well. One side of the community thought that, Arc Raiders should be included because it's like the hype game of the moment. The other people were like, no, not really. It shouldn't be included. One of the arguments that I saw deployed opposing Arc Raiders inclusion in not only the Game of the Year conversation for the Game Awards, but being eligible for any award at that award ceremony. And just so you guys know, I'll put in parentheses here, I will have a episode coming up on some things I wanted to say about the Game Awards and Game of the Year in general. I will have an episode coming out on that. So this will be a nice springboard into that episode in the future that may or may not already be out. So the idea was Arc Raiders should be disqualified from this conversation because it used generative AI for some voice lines and maybe some other stuff that was going on in the game. But the one I heard the most was it used generative AI to generate like just generic voice lines in the game. Now, again, I haven't played the game. I have not heard these AI generated voice lines. My initial reaction to this is that really sucks because that is a person that could have recorded those voice lines and maybe gotten, maybe not a super big payday out of it, but it would have been something that they could have gotten a payday out of, and they could have put on their resume as, oh yes, I provided generic NPC voices for voice lines, shouts, noises in Arc Raiders. That's something you could still put on a resume if you're trying to build a portfolio. So I was upset that AI was used in that capacity for this game, and AI is starting to slowly encroach in the video game space as it is with all other spaces that we're operating in. I have to say that in my 30-ish years of being alive, I've been alive for a while now, my time on this earth predates the widespread existence of the internet. Like, the internet was still around, but it wasn't until the late 90s that it kind of started to get widespread across the United States. So I remember a time when technology didn't interconnect us as much as it does today. And we didn't have all these resources at our fingertips and smartphones and all this stuff. I'm old enough to remember how things were before that and to kind of see the the rapid progression of technology from the 90s up until where we are now. And even at the advent of the social media age and the creation of things like Facebook and Twitter and all these social media platforms that connected us to people from around the world, even then the adoption of like social media was just starting when I was in school for marketing. So we were just starting to get classes and papers and studies written on the use and impact of social media. So that was like a very new thing that was happening even while I was in college. And I'm only 34. I don't consider myself that old. Even the social media aspect took time to kind of integrate itself fully into society. And I think we probably saw that full integration come to fruition around the 2016 election with Donald Trump and all that stuff happening. Again, not making this a political podcast. That's kind of when it felt like all that stuff kind of came to fruition. People truly realized the power that social media had to spread information, or in this case, disinformation, and kind of segregate people into specific niche communities that they didn't have to go outside of their community to hear an opposing opinion. They could just insulate themselves into a community and not have to worry about facts or any of that stuff because their community would always justify what their worldview was. We all know how that goes. That's a conversation for another time. Even the integration of social media into that aspect of life felt like it took at least like 10 years from the point like Facebook kind of popped out and even early MySpace. I've never seen in my life such a rapid and aggressive push to integrate a new technology so fully into every aspect of life in the society that we live in, then I've seen that push with AI. And I think it's kind of stunning to me, not only the rapid progress that AI has made over the last couple of years. I remember a couple of years ago seeing the Will Smith video where he's like eating noodles and it just looks horrifying. And now like only 2 years later, like AI videos still don't look good, but there's a objective improvement from that first Will Smith eating noodles video to a new Will Smith eating noodles video now. And for whatever reason, the Will Smith eating noodles video is like the benchmark at which I measure the progress of AI. And it feels like we've come a long way from Google first rolling out their AI as part of their search and that AI telling people to like eat glue to kind of where we are in this current moment in December of 2025. And there's been this push to integrate AI into business and search and the internet and every aspect of life, into art, into making videos. And the push has been very, very fast, very, very, like every single company that you're using now that I use in business, Google, Microsoft, Adobe Photoshop, all these tools have rolled out some form of an AI component and are continually approving them. Whether you want that as a part of the package that you purchased or not, you don't really have a choice. They're just including it and they're like, this is the future, this is what we're doing. So get on board or get out of the way. So how does this circle back around to video games? I mentioned that the controversy around ARC Raiders was kind of the thing that made me start thinking about all of this. And I, as a person who I feel enjoys video games on the same wavelength as a lot of people in this community do, where it's an experience that makes me think and feel and question some of my beliefs about the world. And I tend to try and take away a deeper understanding and a deeper connection to the game that I just played. The idea that AI is infiltrating our space and all of the major game publishers, which constitute a large amount of the video game industry, are pretty much like, yeah, we are going to look into using AI tools. Like, that's terrifying to me. We've already got examples of this outside of ARC Raiders. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 has some AI generated like nameplates or something like that. I read it in an article. So we've already seen major releases this year and hyped releases this year being like, yeah, we're using AI as part of our development process. And understandably so, a lot of people are very upset about this because we already are in a space in the video game industry where people who make video games, the developers and the people on the front lines who are making all of the stuff, are already not treated great. We're just getting to a point now where we're allowing unionization of video game developers to take place. And now all of a sudden this tool is coming along that all these big corporate execs that run these big gaming companies like EA, Activision, Microsoft, all this other stuff are basically telling us, yeah, we're going to use this to like ease the burden of development costs. Xbox has a 30% profit margin expectation set by Microsoft because of Microsoft's huge investments into AI over the last several years. So we're at a point where a major player in the video game industry, Xbox, is basically being used to supplement AI spending. Like it's not about having the video games anymore. It's about using the video games to generate revenue so Microsoft has more money to spend on AI investment. So as a person who plays video games and enjoys the act of discovering a new game and experiencing what a group of very hardworking, very talented people put together for us to experience, this whole thing with AI coming into the space is truly terrifying. And I'm seeing some resistance online from it, which I think is really good. I'm actually seeing a lot of resistance online from it. And I think that's because, like I mentioned with social media before, I have insulated myself in a bubble of people who think the same as I do and value the aspect of art, which they value the creative aspect of art and the process it takes to create something, whether it's a video game or a painting or a picture or a video. The people in the community that I found myself in value these things. So it's understandable that I have formed that community and people are pushing back against AI, and I'm seeing it. But I am pessimistic to think that this is the overall majority opinion, and that really scares me. I saw recently on a video, I was scrolling through TikTok, and something came across my algorithm where this girl who hand paints flowers like on a canvas, like, you know, Bob Ross used to do. She hand paints flowers. She ran an experiment where she was like, I'm going to post my painting and then I'm going to post the AI generated image of the same flower side by side and like let people like comment and see like which one's better. And being a creative person myself, curiosity got the better of me. I went into the comments and I was shocked I had to scroll for a very long time before anyone would step up and defend the piece of art that she actually painted herself. And the creator, she said that she painted this flower because it was important to her grandma, and that's how she feels a connection to her grandma who's no longer with us. So there was an emotional story behind the process of painting this flower on this canvas. And just to see the amount of comments of people being like, yeah, the AI one was better. And the AI one just looked like, yes, it was a picture of a flower, but it just looked like so washed out and lifeless. Did it look like smoother and cleaner than the one that the girl painted by hand? Like, yes, digital images are always going to look like flatter and smoother and cleaner than something you paint by hand. That's the nature of painting with paints. But there were just so many like comments in this girl's video about that people saying, oh, the AI one looks better. And people were trying to like push back on some of these comments. And one comment that I saw really, really struck me. Somebody was like, the AI is better. Artists can't gatekeep art anymore. And that really just kind of shocked me to my core, is that there are groups of people out there that think that the process of creating art and the people who go through the journey to accumulate the skills to create art are somehow gatekeeping art from the rest of them, from people who haven't gone through the journey to learn how to create something and put in the time and the effort and the soul and the emotion to learn how to paint or play an instrument. These people are just like, yeah, art's no longer being gatekept. We can, you know, participate in it now. And to me, that sentence in itself is completely asinine and insane, because art is not just the result. Art is not just the product of the hours that you spend creating something. You know, art is the process. Like it's the saying in life. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, right? And the journey to create a piece of art is just as important as the end result itself. And it got me thinking about the way that culture has kind of viewed not only artistic expression, but anything made by people posted on the internet. And we had this conversation in Discord the other day about how the term content feels very all encompassing. Is just kind of like a catch-all for something that is generated and posted on the internet for people to consume. And I feel like that's kind of where the attitude towards art has shifted, especially for people who are like more chronically online. People do not see a work of art as something that is a product of the heart, the soul, and the emotion of the person. That person maybe made that piece of art because they just love the process of making art. People in today's attention economy, where quick consumption is valued, look at art as a thing to be posted in so they can collect the currency of the attention economy, which is likes or reposts or engagement. And engagement and content have become inextricably linked for one another. Like, people aren't just posting things for the love of it anymore. People aren't just sharing things for the love of it anymore. Everything that is made in just kind of like the general landscape and the general arena of the internet is being made so that people can be noticed and people can get their attention and springboard that into like some kind of like influencer economy. And that is where we have arrived with art. People who post things for engagement and for likes, and like that's their whole obsession, do not care about the process of creating a piece of art. They feel like that time spent to learn that skill and create that piece of art, they feel resentful towards that because they don't want to have to do that. They just want to be able to create a thing like an artist does and post it and be able to farm the likes and the engagement off of it. So I think that's where this attitude towards art is kind of manifesting in this, pushback from people who are supporters of AI, who are like, yeah, they're not gatekeeping art anymore, because they don't view art as this journey, as this experience. They view it as a product. They view it as an end product to be consumed and then moved on. And that's all they care about. They don't care about picking up a paintbrush and painting something or drawing something. They want to be able to type in their idea and hit generate and have that image to share instantly so they can get the instant gratification of likes and attention from the internet. And that is very shocking to me, and that is very scary to me. And now anytime I see an AI post, and I maybe shouldn't be doing this because I'm just feeding the algorithm and telling it I want to see more AI posts, I go into the comments and I see the tide of overall general opinion shifting towards like AI, especially generative AI, being a good thing, and people being even openly hostile to artists, being like, yeah, take their jobs, yeah, put them out of a job. And it's so baffling to me that people don't have the attention span long enough beyond like the post and move on to their next thing, or like a 15-second TikTok video, to understand that art is something to be engaged with on a deeper level and not just boiled down to, I want to make silly pictures so I can post on the internet and collect likes. And that bodes really, really badly, because I've already felt like we're in a really bad spot when it comes to things like media literacy and understanding what not only video games but movies or TV shows or deeper themes in novels are trying to tell us. We're coming up against this shoulder shrug, it's not that deep, bro, attitude to people who just want to be able to generate and create things and collect their currency in the attention economy. And that is truly devastating. It's truly terrifying. Getting back to video games, I'm really happy to have seen the pushback on some of these games like Arc Raiders or anybody else that uses generative AI. But I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm going to ask the hypothetical you, potential listener, but just the hypothetical you, the general audience who may stumble across this, not you specifically in the community, but you and us in general. If we are truly opposed to having this thing in our space that not only harms the people that makes video games and harms the artists, but also is a way for corporations to take people's jobs away, what are we going to do about it, right? And I'm asking these kind of like hypothetically because the answer is very simple. It's, if we do not want this to be the norm, then we cannot engage with things that support this type of exploitation of stolen art and stolen voices and putting people out of a job. We unequivocally have to take a stand against it and say, no, this is not what we want. Again, not just speaking to like the community that I'm a part of, but just the general gaming audience. And I don't have faith that this is a thing that we can do. I don't have faith that we will be able to stand up as a community, as a group of people who love video games and say, this is not something that we want. We are going to vote with our wallets. And if you do use AI in any type of thing, we are just going to unequivocally avoid it and blacklist it and not engage with it at all. I do not have faith that this will happen because I already kind of start to see it with ARC Raiders. Again, I'm not trying to shit on ARC Raiders. I'm not trying to, I'm sure there are people who worked on that game very hard and they continue to work hard to this day. But ARC Raiders created a hype moment, and the conversation that happened was very quickly between people who are like, I don't want to engage with this because it has a little bit of AI in it that generated voices, versus people who are like, we don't care that it has AI in it because it is hype and it is the game of the moment and everyone is playing it, and we do not want to be left out from that experience. And that is how this thing is going to get normalized into our culture, into our society, and into the video game industry, is by just people who have that attitude, because the video game industry runs off of hype. It always goes back to hype, right? There's going to continue to be pushback on AI in video games, and we're going to continue to fight that. But I guarantee you there's going to come a day and there's going to come a game that was created with a lot of AI tools and a lot of AI art, and a lot of AI voices. Like, AI is going to be heavily involved in the creation of this hypothetical future video game, and it's going to catch fire. It's going to be hype. All the streamers are going to be playing it. Everyone's going to be talking about it online. And all of a sudden, that fear of missing out and that fear of missing the hype and being part of that conversation and being able to farm that hype for your own engagement, your own brand, is going to overshadow the fight to not engage with this thing, because it has used a lot of AI and put a lot of people out of jobs in its creation. And that is how a lot of things in society get normalized, not just in video games. I mentioned before the big push to include AI in every aspect of our lives. This is more aggressive than anything that I've experienced in our capitalist society before. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, that hype game will help to normalize the use of AI in video games. And there will still be a small contingent of us who decry this and don't want to engage with things that use AI. But the general person, and like the general picture I have of a random person on the internet, will not care about this. The only thing they will care about is being able to play the hype thing at the hype moment with their friends, and that will normalize the use of AI. And then everybody will be like, oh, see, it's not that bad. It's fine. And that is how I foresee the battle, the major pushback for this ending. Like, it'll become normalized because all these companies are spending so much money to normalize it in our everyday life. And then the goalposts will be moved. And this is not the only time in our society that this has happened, right? It's not, we're sitting here saying like it is unethical to use AI to make video games when it's stealing from artists and putting people out of a job. But to live in a capitalist society like this is to consume unethically. We have to move the goalposts on everything in order to be okay with living in the society that we live in, right? Because if it's not AI in video games, it's, oh, well, developers are crunching to make the video game, but like, that's okay. I don't really care about that as long as I get the experience that I care about. And we got to there from, oh, well, the shirt on my back is made by kids in Malaysia who are being paid unfairly and maybe working in unsafe conditions, but like, I don't see that, and that's okay as long as I have my designer clothes or my Nikes or whatever, or my shoes were made by kids in over in Asia. So like, my biggest fear is that this is going to get normalized into our society the way that all unethical consumption has gotten normalized into our society, whether it's fast fashion, whether it's fast food, whether it's the exploitation of people across the globe to have the things that we have. We justify that because it's like, we want to have these things and we don't really care about the people that we can't see half the world away doing those jobs. Now it's going to be, the hype video game has AI in it, but we don't want to miss out on it because it's the cultural thing happening right now, and I can farm engagement off of it, and I can build my brand, and I can be part of the conversation, because everyone knows online, if you're not part of the current conversation that's happening, you are behind and you don't matter. I understand this is all a very pessimistic snapshot of the way I'm looking at the future, but just looking at the history of the society that we've lived in, we've continually moved the goalposts on the unethical consumption of stuff in our society and the way that we get it because those things are convenient and they're nice to have, and we want to have the nice Nike shoes and we want to have the iPhone in our hands. So we twist ourselves into knots to justify wearing these things and using these things because that's the way it is. And the same thing is going to happen with AI. Like, I guarantee you, something is going to come along, like a movie will come along, a game will come along, and people will be like, yeah, like this is fine. It's like a hype thing. We're talking about it in the moment. And that is when AI will be normalized for a vast majority of people. I'm already slowly starting to see it. I watch a lot of football. I watch the NFL when it's on during the winter. I have a separate football podcast, so I watch my hometown team, the Chicago Bears, play every single Sunday. And during the commercial breaks, I can count on, like, it's gotten to both hands now. I can count commercials that I've pegged as, oh yeah, they're definitely using AI. McDonald's just got a lot of backlash because they made a pretty sloppy AI commercial they put out there they had to retract. I saw a Progressive insurance commercial with like animals driving cars that just looks like it has that AI sheen, that AI soulless, like you just know it when you see it. At the start of the season, the NFL made a commercial of like all their fans and stuff on like a gigantic like party float that heavily used AI. You could just tell. So these things are becoming normalized at the highest level of our societal institutions, the NFL, insurance, fast food, because they view it as a way that they can make these things fast and cheap without having to pay people to do it. And it's going to get normalized because advertising normalizes everything in our society. And I'm really scared of that moment when it becomes normalized, because I feel like we're losing the battle on stressing the importance of media literacy and the importance of the process of creating art. But art has just become this thing that has been swallowed up under the umbrella of content, and people just want content to post. They don't care because they're like, you cannot monetize the process of making art. Like, you could stream it and stuff, maybe, but if anybody pays attention, but people don't care about that. People do not care about the process of making the said piece of art. People just care about having a end result they can put out to farm engagement, which is the attention economy currency. And that's how I foresee it becoming normalized, because we always move the goalposts regardless of who it hurts in our society. And people are going to lose jobs. A lot of people are going to lose jobs if this keeps going the way that it is. I know that's pessimistic, but just look at the general video game conversations that take place outside of your community and see how filled with hate and rage that they are, and how filled with a lack of interpretation or media literacy in the things that they engage with. Like, I know, I see it coming. A game's gonna come out and the developer will be like, AI will reach a point where like it's acceptable to people and doesn't look like horrifying, soulless monstrosity, and people will go, yeah, like this game is fun to play, and even though it uses AI, like everyone's playing it, so I don't want to miss out. That is how it's going to become normalized in our space, unless we really, really push back and really, really vote with our wallets. But the fear of missing out on the hype moment for most people will outweigh their desire to not have AI be a part of a video game. That's just how I feel. So if you truly want to stand against this, if you truly want to send a message and say, hey, I don't want this in my video games. I want real people voicing characters. I want real people to create the art that goes into my video games. You have to take a firm stand now and say, if this thing is going to be present in video games, I am not going to engage with it at all. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people because, like myself, a lot of people have shows, a lot of people have video game shows that rely on analyzing video games after playing them. And so will the temptation for you and your show be too great to analyze the hype thing to farm engagement off of it versus you sticking to your guns and saying, I'm not doing this? For a lot of people, that answer is going to be no. For a lot of people who do content about the current evolving state of the video game industry, where you're always reporting on the latest stories and the latest things that are happening, the latest games that are coming out, no, you're not going to want to miss out on that game, because that's going to be the thing that gets you engaging, because that's what everybody's talking about. That's just how I feel it's going to become normalized. So, and again, if I'm saying you in general, I'm not saying you specifically to anybody listening to this episode. I'm not calling out people that make content discussing the current events of the video game industry or the current games that are out. But I hope I've been able to communicate my point about how I feel this is going to go, and how if we truly believe as a community that this is not something that we want, we have to draw a line in the sand with it, like right now, and not just because if you draw a line in the sand, but then oh, okay, maybe this game only used a little bit of AI. I don't feel so bad checking it out. And then you just, that the goalposts of unethical consumption constantly gets moved. And that's how you will end up in a place where it's like, yeah, this game had AI in it and it put a bunch of people out of work, and people aren't making this, and the voices aren't actual people, but I'm okay with it because it's the next type thing. I'm very worried about this as a person who is in marketing, as a person who, if AI gets good enough, their job could probably be replaced by AI if they're able to automate it to a level that they're predicting that it can go to. Or, you know what might happen? Maybe this whole thing will just pass us by because the economy is being propped up by 10 companies just moving around trillions of dollars to each other. NVIDIA is giving money to Microsoft, giving money to OpenAI. OpenAI is spending money on RAM. It's just a giant shell game between like 10 companies that are basically propping up the economy. In NVIDIA's investor call, like quarterly investor call, their CEO said that they have to hit their earnings benchmarks. Otherwise, they're so big that if they don't, the shockwave could tank the stock and take down the entire U.S. economy. Isn't that really scary to hear one company say if they don't meet their earnings, if people don't spend enough money, that their company is so big and is so involved with what's going on right now that they can just take down the entire economy? That's terrifying. Maybe that happens. Maybe the economy crashes, the AI bubble pops, and everyone's just like, we're not seeing a return on this. Like, what is the point of continuing to invest billions of dollars in it? I don't think so, because there's also like a military application to AI as well. And if the military is involved, they will make sure that AI stuff gets funded, because believe me, if it's for war, it will get funded. I think I'm veering a little bit too much into like crazy politic conspiracy talk, so I'm going to veer away from that. What can we do as people who make things against the rising tide of AI? It's useless to fight with people on the internet. Do not spend your days in comment sections fighting with people, because those people they don't care. They want the engagement. They want the rage bait to be able to fluff up their engagement numbers and build like a core audience around them. So like engaging with these people online just does not work, because they do not come to the table with good faith arguments. They just come to the table to make you mad and farm the engagement off of it. You cannot argue with people online about this. We need to just continue doing what we're doing and continue to put out like good, insightful conversations around the things that we love, and just hope that maybe, just maybe, that it's enough to break through the noise of all of this other stuff where there's such an avalanche of pro AI stuff being put up on like YouTube and being put out on podcasts. And there's such an avalanche of all this anti-woke, anti-DEI stuff putting out. It's like, you cannot argue with these people. You have to continue to put out and amplify the voices that you think are the good voices, and hope that that's enough to fight back against just this tide of just garbage and slop that people are just continually pushing on us. That's truly what I believe. And that's what I'm going to continue to try and do with this show here. I could continue talking about AI for like another 2 hours. I wanted to keep these episodes a little bit shorter. I don't know if I hit everything I wanted to talk about. I realized I kind of left this off with like a pessimistic picture, but hopefully a call and a cry to say, if you don't want these things in your video game spaces, like, you need to take a stand against this. And I will be taking a stand against this. I do not want any part in a video game that uses any kind of AI in it at all, because it's taking potential jobs away from people who could be making that video game, and it's taking away jobs from voice actors and anybody else that could be involved in the creation of that video game. We're already at a point where corporate involvement in video games creates a product that feels soulless and lifeless, that creates a product that we feel like is just there for consumption. And honestly, a lot of things in our society are made for just consumption. That is the sole reason for making what we would consider a piece of art. Like, the intentions are not always so noble. It's not making something that is an expression of my emotions or expression of my inner soul. It's something to satisfy the shareholders. And that is also something that we're fighting with amongst all this other stuff and this push for AI, is that ultimately, if AI is able to come in and automate a lot of this stuff and create something that's an acceptable product and replace a lot of our jobs, it's going to make the people who hold all the stock a lot more money if they don't have to pay us to do it. Anyways, I digress. I think we need to take a firm stand against this. I think that we need to continue to be vigilant in our analysis and push back against this type of thinking that AI is preventing artists from gatekeeping anymore. Like, that's just such a stupid line of thought that I can't even think straight trying to finish out this episode. Continue to create amazing things. Continue to spotlight indie games made by smaller teams, by smaller creators, by people who have a real passion. Continue to spotlight indie podcasts that talk about the things that really matter when it comes to talking about video games. Continue to do all that stuff, because by spotlighting those things, we're going to help them stand out in a sea of just absolute shit garbage that has been slowly building on the internet over the last several years. Like, support your friends, support what they do, support good art, support good shows, share that stuff. It takes 1 second to like that stuff. Share it to your stories, just shout it out. That is the way that we're going to fight back against this rising tide of just absolute garbage. My name is Eric. If you'd like to hear any more from the Unlockables, I have a backlog of episodes. I have my Guiding Keys series, which is a complete playthrough and analysis of the Kingdom Hearts series. I have several other games that I talked about. I have several interviews with other content creators that I've done. I have over 100 episodes of stuff that you can listen to. So if you want to check out any of that, go to linktr.ee/Unlockables podcast. All the good stuff is there. All the links to my social medias where you can find the podcast. All that fun stuff. Please leave a like, rating, and review on your podcatcher of choice. I recently had to tear down all my old episodes and re-upload them because Spotify was blacklisting my show. So I had to switch hosting platforms and I had to re-upload all of them. So I lost all my reviews. So please leave a star rating. Leave a star rating and a written review. Really helps me out. I need to build that back up to where it needs to be. Also, go check out the Patreon. I'm planning some other things for fun Patreon stuff. Patreon.com/Unlockables podcast, I think it is. I don't know. It's in the link tree too, I believe. But I'm planning some other fun stuff with the Patreon for 2026. With that being said, always remember, guys, it's not just a story of video games. It's a story of you. And fuck AI.